All right, if you would, please find your seats. As Nita said earlier, we did the gospel reading earlier in the service because I'm going to be preaching from the psalm this morning. And so we're going to still read the psalm, though, as we often do, as a responsive psalm. So please read with me. This is Psalm 66, verses 8 through 20. Praise our God, all peoples. Let the sound of his praise be heard. He has preserved our lives and kept our feet from slipping. For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. You brought us into prison and laid burdens on our backs. You let people ride over our heads. We went through fire and water, but you brought us to a place of abundance. I will come to your temple with burnt offerings and fulfill my vows to you. Vows my lips promised and my mouth spoke when I was in trouble. I will sacrifice fat animals to you and an offering of rams. I will offer bulls and goats. Come and hear, all you who fear God. Let me tell you what he has done for me. I cried out to him with my mouth. His praise was on my tongue. If I had cherished sin in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. But God has surely listened and has heard my prayer. Praise be to God, who has not rejected my prayer or withheld his love from me. Amen. Some things are best said not in prose, but in poetry. The Psalms, like this one, they give us imagination and language to express what living life with God is like. The Psalms invite us to pray and to praise and to lament and to cry out, to communicate with God with our entire being. They give us this gift through imagery and verse and emotion and sometimes words when our words fall short. I've titled today's sermon, "The Lanyard We Bring," which may seem a little odd. It's a title that will make sense in short order. Since it's Mother's Day, I'd like to read you a poem by one of my very favorite poets. His name is Billy Collins. He was American Poet Laureate, maybe back in the early 2000s. Fabulous poet. I will say this. A, if you're not into poetry, you might still very well be into Billy Collins. Second, if you've never read any of Billy Collins' poetry, he has a very wry wit and a bit of a sense of humor. And so it could be just as appropriate in a Billy Collins poem to find yourself tearing up and laughing, and perhaps even all at the same time. So if you feel free to do so, you are welcome to as I read this to you. Again, this poem is called "The Lanyard." And it tells a story, it pulls an image of something that would often happen that children would do in the summertime and something that they would make. So, the lanyard. The other day, as I was ricocheting slowly off the pale blue walls of the room, bouncing from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one more suddenly into the past. A past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift for my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard, or wear one if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted teaspoons of medicine to my lips, set cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out in the airy light and taught me to walk and swim, and I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education, and here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones, and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift. Not the archaic truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hands, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. This morning, on Mother's Day, we honor those women who have given us life, whether literal or figurative life. They've made us who we are. And whatever gift we may give them today, I don't know, Angela, if you saw the gift sitting on the coffee table. It was meant to be a tease. Any gift we give them today would certainly not be enough to make us even. These small bags of chocolates that you'll get on the way out from the church today, they're a meager offering, and sure, in comparison with all that you ladies have done for your own children, for others, for this church. But that's not the point of the gift, is it? To make us even somehow? In Collins's poem, his mother receives the lanyard, leaving the boy as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. She let him think that. It was meager, yet welcomed. And so it is with God. Like a child offering a woven bracelet to the one who gave them life, we come to God with our small, earnest gifts. And somehow that's enough. Somehow he welcomes it. We want to take a look at this psalm today, because this is what's happening in the psalm. Again, most of the psalms are this way, not all of them, but it's a psalm that begins with a call to praise. The poet issues a call to worship. That is, he's issuing an invitation to the people to respond to God, to what God has said, to what God has done. Right at the beginning, we began in verse 8. Praise our God, all peoples. Let the sound of his praise be heard. He's meaning like not just by me, but by all of us. And this is somewhat repeated as we read all the way down to verse 20 as well. He closes this section by saying, praise be to God, who has not rejected my prayer or withheld his love for me. These bookends are calling us to raise our voices in worship. And what's held in between these two bookends is the heart of the poem, is the heart of this song of worship and this prayer to God. And he says 2 main things here. The first thing, and you could view these as strands that he's weaving, much like a lanyard. And the main thing, the first thing that the poet does is to name what God has done. Both the pleasant things and the painful things. In verse 9, he says that he's kept us among the living. He didn't let our feet slip. In verse 10, the refining image, right? He uses this image of a refiner that kind of seems to like bring some pain, but it dignifies the suffering that he and his fellow people of God had gone through. God tested them. God refined them like silver, he says. That their suffering was purposeful. It wasn't just punitive. God wasn't just punishing them. He was preparing them for who he was making them to be. The image is this smelting process of like this master artisan who's intending to bring you out changed and beautiful and purposeful. In verses 11 through the beginning of 12, he's noting how he also allowed this hard passage in the life of God's people. He talks about it as a prison and burdens, fire and water, this difficult journey that they had to walk through. He's saying we can name the discomfort of this honestly. Even in the midst of this praising psalm, we can admit that there's difficult times that we walk through. I love it that in the psalm of praise, the psalmist doesn't flinch. He doesn't turn away from even the suffering and even the hard times. Because even this hard passage that they go through eventually led to what he talks about in the end of verse 12, a place of abundance. A place of abundance. The destination that they ended at reframes the journey, not by erasing it, not like pretending that it never happened, but completing it. Saying, oh, we had to go through this hard journey. We had to make this difficult passage. We had to be tried and tested and refined, and we had to suffer some so that we could end up being who God has made us to be, so that we could enter into this place of abundance and fully enjoy it. And this is where we see this connection also with mothers, because the best human love that we know works the same way. The best of our mothers have treated us the same way. That a mother's faithfulness to her children is not just in the soft moments, is not just in the like beautiful, joyful moments. It's when you were going through the fire and she sat there beside you. It's when you were heartbroken and she wrapped her arms around you. It's when you had to go through difficult things in life and she helped you see, oh, no, but you're becoming someone different through this. I see you becoming someone better. That's someone that I always knew was in there from the time that you were a baby. Now this hard passage, you're going to come out on the other side different and into a place of abundance. God's love and faithfulness stick with us and endure with us, all these things for our greater good, just like the love of a mother. So the poet names what God did, but then the poet also reflects on the meager and yet welcomed response to the good things God has done. Again, he kind of weaves these in and out of what God did and then what the response of his people could be or are. In verses 13 through 15, the speaker imagines he comes to the temple with burnt offerings. He comes fulfilling vows that he made in those hard times, in that difficult journey. God, I promise I'll do this. I'll fulfill this to you. If you just do this for me, I'll do this for you. He's coming to fulfill these vows. Eugene Peterson, in his translation of this passage in the Message, I love it. He brings these verses into kind of even more vivid or poetic language that just might sound more resonant with us to our 20th century, 21st century ears and imaginations. He says, I'm bringing my prizes and presents to your house. I'm doing what I said I'd do, what I solemnly swore I'd do that day when I was in so much trouble. The choicest cuts of meat for the sacrificial meal. Even the fragrance of a roasted lamb is like a meal. Or make it an ox garnished with goat meat. Just this barbecue. Anybody doing a barbecue for your mother for Mother's Day? He's like, this is what I'm bringing. And this is the Lanyard moment of the psalm. This is the Lanyard moment of the song. These offerings that he's talking about, these offerings are real. They're even quite costly, yet they're still like laughably disproportionate to what they're responding to. as involved as all of these offerings were, they were nothing compared to what God did. There is no way these offerings are enough to make him or his people even with God, any more than the lanyard makes the boy even with his mother. It's not possible. It's not possible. And the psalmist knows this, yet he brings his gifts anyways. And God receives them anyways. Just like the mother received the lanyard into her hands. Not discounting it, not scoffing at it, not treating it as the actual silly, worthless thing that it was. She said, "Oh, I will take it." What this psalm reveals to us is that wholehearted, inadequate love is the right response to goodness. Wholehearted and inadequate love is the right response to such goodness. To such goodness from God, we come with our wholehearted gifts, our inadequate words of praise. We sung some beautiful words today. It's a beautiful song, some beautiful hymns. We're going to sing another one. Yet even those words of praise are still not enough. It's still inadequate. But can we do it with our whole heart? This wholehearted, inadequate love is the right response to goodness from our mothers. Even though it will never be adequate, it will never make us even. We could rewrite this psalm. We could rewrite this psalm almost as like a reflection of Collins's poem, the way that he went back and forth between what his mother did and yet here's the lanyard I made you. We could read this psalm like this: "You preserved our lives and kept our feet from slipping, and I brought burnt offerings into your temple. You, God, tested us. You refined us like silver, making us strong and beautiful. And I fulfilled the vows my lips promised to you when I was in trouble. You, God, brought us through the hardest times we had ever experienced into a wide open space of abundance. And I'll sacrifice fat animals to you, a wide variety of rams and bulls and goats. You have surely listened. You have heard my prayer, and so your praises will be on my tongue. You have not rejected my prayer or withheld your love from me. And here is the lanyard I made at camp with a little help from a counselor." Yet can you see the smile on the mother's face? Can you see the smile on your father's face? Verse 16, kind of right at the heart of this psalm, is when he makes this turn. And he says, "Come and hear, all you who fear God. Let me tell you what he has done for me." He's saying, listen up, I've got a story to tell you about my God. At its core, this psalm is about storytelling. Our worship of God is about storytelling. Mother's Day also, I would argue, is about storytelling. Loving our mothers, all of the women, the influential, formational women in our lives, loving them is about telling stories. And just here's my question for you today. What is your story? What's your story of what God has done for you? Like, what story would you like to tell somebody? Tell that story to someone today. Look for an opportunity, make an opportunity to tell someone the story of what God has done for you. Like the psalmist, invite them to listen. What is your story of what your mother has done for you? Or perhaps some other significant woman in your life. What story would you like to tell in honor of that person today? Tell that story to someone. Do it today. Our American calendar has given you a built-in opportunity and excuse to say, let me tell you a story about my mother. Let me tell you a story about my aunt or my grandma or whoever. Because even a story about your mother is a story about God who gifted her to you. Even that is honoring to her, but gives ultimate glory to God. So let us become a community that responds to the goodness of God in worship and storytelling all the time. And let's be grateful that even our most meager offerings are joyfully accepted by God our Father.